feel like my whole life, my people been lied to, my people been lied to. Hey, you can hate me for the truth. They hated on Christ too. They hated on Christ too. Hey, nothing ish about this Jew. 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 Hey, nothing ish about this Jew.
Hallelujah, Yahuwah. For the millionth time, I'm not Islamic, I'm an Israelite, Yehuda. No pistol cocked on my waistline, my ammo in my Torah, my fringe border my waistline, my ribbon blue, I'm chewed up. My bruise and I have exquisite taste, so no pork, swine is chewed up. My ancestor came from the Holy Land, I'm still screaming hallelujah. I'm strapped with the Bible, I'm blasting.
Black history. What do you know about Black history? Well, most African Americans know that they are the descendants of slaves, that their forefathers were scattered around the world, and that they are the descendants of an oppressed people. However, most African Americans don't know their history beyond slavery. This gap in history is due to the many barriers that stand between African Americans and the truth. This documentary will remove those barriers and reconnect so-called African Americans with their true history. An interesting fact about African Americans today is that African American males belong to one family group, one bloodline, often called E1B1A or E3A. This means that African American males belong to one family group. Roughly 85% of African American males with African ancestry on their father's side are E1B1A. An interesting fact emerges when we take a look at the different DNA groups in Africa today. Now, Africa is composed of different types of DNA group, each shown using different colors on this map. Now, E1B1A or E3A is shown on the map in green. DNA studies around the world confirm these results. And in fact, excerpts from 3 of those studies are shown on the screen. The excerpt located at the top of the screen tells us that African Americans, along with West Africans, are closely related, that we share a common ancestor that walked the earth during the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The second excerpt tells us that African Americans are roughly 78.1% West African and 18.5% European. Now, it goes on to say that this intermixture is due to the intercourse between West African females and European males. What does it all mean? Well, it means that African Americans are closely related. It means that if you took a DNA test with, for example, Ancestry.com, you would get a map back similar to the one shown on the top right. Now notice the results of the Ancestry DNA matches E1B1A locations. The map at the bottom shows the concentrations of E1B1A groups in Africa. The high concentrations are near the Slave Coast, Senegambia, and South Africa. E1B1A groups in Africa today are composed of many different tribes. Thankfully, due to DNA research, we now know the names of those tribes. For example, the Bantu, Benin, the Cameroon, the Cross River, Nigeria, Ghana, the Igbo tribe, the Hutu tribe, the Sanghalese, the Tutsi, the Wolof, the Yoruba, the Hausa, and the Zulu. Language studies also confirms this close-knit family of people. For example, Alfred Ellis writes, the Tishi-speaking peoples of the Gold Coast, the Ga-speaking peoples of the Gold Coast, the Ewe-speaking peoples of the Slave Coast, the Yoruba-speaking peoples of the Slave Coast, whose languages all belong to one family and who have apparently all sprung from one common stock. An interesting fact regarding the language of the Slave Coast is that Europeans sometimes referred to the Slave Coast as Ewe or Evoe. Now, according to African author Mawuli, Evoe is the Hebrew word for Hebrews, sometimes spelled I-V-R-I. Now, as you can see on the map, Evoe, you also see Evoeo, which is the plural form, which means Hebrews.
I'm really excited to be able to tell you where in Africa you come from.
First up, Rairu.
We traced your ancestry to a country called Nigeria.
I knew it was gonna
You
be
knew it?
I had a good feeling. I don't know why. I just
Well, what do you know about Nigeria?
not much at all.
Nigeria sits on the western coast of Africa, sandwiched between Benin and Cameroon, and more than 250 ethnic groups live within its borders.
Well, Nigeria is actually the country that we find the largest number of results from.
But in our group, it wasn't Nigeria that yielded the most results.
You and everybody on your mother's side of the family share ancestry with people living in Cameroon.
He talked about that earlier. Yes.
Like Anisha, Norel's lineage originated in Cameroon.
Well, me and my family, we plan on going to Cameroon.
His family waited for Norel's test results before booking a flight across the Atlantic to Cameroon. Like its much larger neighbor Nigeria, Cameroon has hundreds of ethnic groups. The people speak 24 native African languages, plus English and French. Cameroonian culture absorbed these languages after European colonizers arrived in the 1500s to trade goods and acquire slaves.
Now when people ask me where I'm from, I have to either say Washington, D.C., or I have to say, well, technically I'm from Cameroon.
Unlike the other teams, Brittany is from more than one country.
You share ancestry with people in two countries. There's two little tiny countries on the west coast of Africa. One is Guinea-Bissau, and the other one is Sierra Leone.
Roughly 3 times the size of Connecticut, Guinea-Bissau sits on the western coast of Africa. In 1446, it became one of the first areas on the continent explored by Europeans. One country away.
They've got remnants of an ancient type of Israelite religion. So in a way, they conserve this very special ancient type of
It's like old school religion.
Yes.
But how do they maintain that religious identity? How did they keep it intact for so many years when there was this long journey from Israel down to South Africa?
You see, that's a question. I think it's by means of the oral.
As they have Semitic origins.
Yes, that's how we put it. What we were saying was that there's a non-African contribution to the gene pool of the Lemba, which is not evident in the peoples amongst whom they live in that part of the world.
You mentioned non-African influences. If someone
Pohen-modal haplotype has been found among the priestly caste of the Lemba.
The observation that the Cohen pattern was commonest in that one particular group is something that begs exploration.
This link supports the Lemba's oral history and the archaeological clues we've seen in the places they say they lived.
Hardcore time.
But Himmler is quick to point out the limitations of genetic science.
Now, in terms of whether the Lemba are Jewish because they have the Cohen modal haplotype or not, is something that science cannot address. Because cultural identity is a social construct.
Are you saying blacks are the real Jews? What I'm saying is that we are Judah, the tribe of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth.
Judah gang, Judah gang, Judah gang, Judah gang, Judah gang, Judah gang, Judah gang. My tribe known as Southside Clan. True music bang in that wide frame. Balls hit him in the head, no high fade. Now I got it in their head like migraines. It's a shame how we kill over light chain. Think blood coming soon, ain't gonna be an ice age. Never seen a race of people so blind, man. Too many reprobate, boy, what did John 9 say? Heaven got a ladder, but hell got a highway. So why you in the driveway? Too many Israelites is rebels without a call. Proverbs 18:6, we hit him right in the jaw. 2/3 cut out, forsaking the highest law. Yeah, I serve a higher God than ones in synagogue. If they hung them on the trees, then why they idol a cross? Lied to the slaves, then lied to our face. Blind us with chains, now we ride for the state. Gave us the drugs, the pedal like a bike.
Now, in terms of whether the Lemba are Jewish because they have the Cohen modal haplotype or not, is something that science cannot address. Because cultural identity is a social construct. No genetic data is going to tell you that you are Jewish, or that you are Hindu, or that you are Christian, or any religious domination.
Himmler tells me that the presence of the Cohen modal haplotype can't tell us anything about the Lemba's religion. Yet just as remarkably, it can tell us where their ancestors came from, and it's not in Africa.
There is this interesting genetic information showing us that some of the original founders did come from other parts of the world other than Africa. From our data, I would put my money on saying it's the Middle East.
Himmler is convinced that Lemba ancestors did indeed come from the Middle East. I'm excited to get back to the Lemba to see what they make of this. And I've got the perfect opportunity. It's the Lemba's annual festival, and I've been invited. It's hard to believe that these people, who to the casual observer look just like the other African communities they live among, actually do have DNA passed down from Middle Eastern forefathers. This proves that when it comes to race, looks really can be deceiving. This annual festival is a chance for the oral history and traditional songs of the Lemba to be passed on to the next generation. This song tells the story of the Lemba's journey all the way from Israel to South Africa.
What I'm really doing is just turning back to my original culture. You know what I'm saying? They want to tell you that our history started as slavery. I'm not with that, man. I'm going back to how we was before slavery. Hey, we set apart people, man. Shalom. Bahashim Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. That's all I know now. Kal Yasharala, Rakatai. That's all I know now. I turn up for the Most High. That's all I know now. Rather die in His truth than to live in that lie. That's all I know now. Bahashim Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. That's all I know now. Kal Yasharala, Rakatai. That's all I know now. I turn up for the Most High. That's all I know now. Rather die in His truth than to live in that lie. That's all I know now. 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 Bahashim Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. That's all I know now. Kal Yasharala, Rakatai. That's all I know now. Was turning up every weekend, man, cause I ain't wanna turn down. Now I'm turned up in the Ruach. That's all I know now. Heavy fancy cars and bad chicks, man, that's not my concern now. Now I look for me a daughter of Zion. That's all I know now. Living way too fast, my mama prayed for me to slow down. Now I'm just cooling and reading my Bible. That's all I know now. Trying to keep the commandments, know who I am and they can't stand it. Beat these haters right down to the canvas. That's all I know now. Rocking fringes, All my Hebrews rockin' with me. Hell no, I don't claim a religion. Cause that's something the Bible don't mention. Come on. I used to be all in the kitchen. Water whipping, man, while they flipping chickens. Had to change up the way I was living. I'm set apart, that mean we different. Shalom.